And now we go to my favorite part, which is the Hearts and Minds segment. And we're going to start with Dwayne Ashley, the founder and CEO of Bridge Philanthropic Consulting. And Dwayne, how are you?
Great.
Top share. So great to see you. You're so talented. I knew that at Jazz and Lincoln Center. You got money out of me, that's for sure.
I get money out of most people I ask for.
I know well, let's talk about that. You know, why do you, okay, so first of all, you worked at Jazz, you worked for Madonna and her foundations, you worked for fundraising for a couple historic Black colleges, right? Amazing work that you've always done. And now you have your own philanthropic consulting firm that you started after you moved on from Jazz at Lincoln Center. And what's so awesome about that is that you're also like the largest and first philanthropic consulting firm that has all African Americans working with you. Is that correct?
Well, no, we're diverse. We are the first full service firm to serve the sector to be able to run major campaigns. We're full service agencies. There are a lot of great consultants who are my colleagues out there who do this work, but we have the capacity to run a campaign from $500,000 to over $1 billion. So. Gotcha.
Well, okay. That's a lot of money. What's an example of a campaign that needs $1 billion all at once or throughout different points of the fundraising process?
Yeah, so they run them for several billions. A lot of major universities will run endowment campaigns. Some of them are as much as $5 billion, and they're done over a period of 5 years. And they're usually to build the sustainability of the institution. So you want to make sure you protect the institution where if something happens like what we're going through now with COVID-19 and the economy starts to crash and go down, the institution doesn't want to have to cut back its services as those would probably be needed even more. Organizations like the American Cancer Society will run $1 billion campaign to do more research to find a cure for cancer. So there are many examples. The American Red Cross, large organizations and large universities run $1 billion campaigns.
And you work with those type of organizations that are like, what are some of the organizations that you were, if you're allowed to tell? I mean, I guess it's good because maybe you'll get some money from the people on this call.
So I work with organizations that really focus on communities of color. So Harlem Hospital, that's one of my clients. We were heavily involved in raising money for COVID-19 because they were a major COVID center. Their workers were on the front lines. We work with Phoenix House, which is one of the largest substance abuse.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm meeting with them. That's awesome. Not because I'm addicted to substances, which I don't know. Maybe during this COVID crisis, we should probably be talking to them. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about like the heartbeat because it's called the Hearts and Minds segment. So you are, like you said, very successful. I always like to see people's process or their personalities, what make them successful at what they do. So why or how do you why do you think, you are successful at your job?
I love it. It's my passion. I think that that's the key to anybody being successful at what they do. You have to love what you do and be passionate about it. I believe, as Maslow defines the hierarchy of needs of food, shelter, and water, I believe that people have a need to give money. And I believe it's all about understanding how to tap into that need and meeting them where you bridge that so that there can be a connection between the individual or the organization and the organization that needs the resources. So I enjoy that. I get a thrill out of it. And I enjoy seeing the organizations who receive the resources to be able to accomplish their missions and make a difference. And I'll give you an example. Just last week, I called up my mom's pastor. My mom belongs to a very small church in Houston. And I said, well, listen, Reverend Ash, did you get the economic injury disaster loan? A lot of people didn't realize that that money was available.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Remember you told me? I got it. Dwayne, I just want to tell everybody, when I asked Dwayne to be on it, he's like, Brad, don't forget to apply. I'm like, really? And I applied and I got it. So I have to thank you for that.
Oh, I'm so happy. See, that's what I'm talking about. I get a thrill of it. Okay. So I was telling my mom's pastor, I was like, did you apply for this? Turns out he didn't know about it. He didn't apply. So I literally got on the phone with them and I walked them through it. They applied. They got funded immediately within a week, and the money's in their bank account already. And I told them, I said, the only thing I need you to do is tell all the other churches about it. So I had like 50 churches calling me. I didn't charge them. I mean, I wasn't hired, to be their consultant. I just wanted to help them out because they needed it, because I know that their tithes and offerings are down. They need the support to be able to continue to support the communities that they serve. And so that's the work I love doing. I really do.
All right. Well, let's shift to the zeitgeist right now of raising money. Is it harder? I mean, especially for these other organizations, you mentioned universities, right? I mean, they're really in a tough situation, right now, because of the change. There are people who feel like they shouldn't spend the money if they have to, mainly the privileged ones who can afford it. There are other, so we hear from Harvard and MIT that are going digital. There's the conversation if like college is really irrelevant today or relevant. And then you have other organizations, as you know, I mean, religion, you just talked about, the American Red Cross. Well, I guess they're a health organization. I mean, is it hard to fundraise right now for something that's not related to ending systemic racism or healthcare?
I mean, it is tough. People are losing their jobs. People are struggling to eat. And so there are a lot of issues that are going on in the world right now. And what that means is that it's going to be more difficult, but you have to sharpen your case, how you make the ask. And this is what I say to people when I talk about this all the time. You don't stop, because I've had people call me and say, well, Dwayne, should we not be fundraising right now because people are homeless, people are sick, people are losing their loved ones. They're concerned about taking that message to people right now that will seem insensitive. And I'll just give you an example of an organization I work with who does mentoring. And as you well know, there was a big hoopla because New York City was not going to fund the youth program, the summer youth employment program for the summer. It was ultimately funded. So I said, you have to amplify your mission even more right now because you can do virtual mentoring, even though you can't do face-to-face mentoring. So organizations have to really look at, how do I make my case and my pitch a lot sharper to meet the market demands right now and what's happening in philanthropy right now. You just got to sharpen your pitch, but you still got to ask. It is tough, but I think if you make your case strong enough, people who've been with you are not going to leave you. And that's one thing that we know about the sector. Individual donors tend to stick with organizations that they're supporting. You may see some cutbacks in the corporate area and foundations, which foundations are actually giving more right now. But individuals is where you really want to be focused, because they will stick with you through the tough times. Even if they have to cut back a little bit, they'll give you a little something.
That's really interesting. So I guess that every organization is relevant to the crises that we're experiencing right now in a way, right? I mean, all of us are pivoting now. I mean, how are nonprofits pivoting?
Well, they're pivoting to survive in a virtual environment. For many of them, as you well know, fundraising events is a huge vertical in the nonprofit sector. So you can't very well do a lot of events right now. So what people are doing is really being creative and creating virtual events, virtual cultivation events, virtual fundraisers. Jazz at Lincoln Center, who you talked about earlier, they pivoted their gala and it was done virtual.
I know, that was my favorite event of the year.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. And I think they have more people to participate because you could tune in from all around the world. And that's a great example of how you have to pivot. And people say, well, how can you solicit when you're used to having that one-on-one and more personal? You just got to be creative and do it through Zoom now. And you can share a lot more about your mission, digitally, and just, organizations have got to embrace this digital and virtual environment now, where some people have resisted that for a long time because fundraising was more face-to-face.
Is there an example that you could provide for us that illuminates an organization who's doing this right or did it right?
Who's doing it right or has done it right, yes. I think if you check out the United Negro College Fund, also, and I'll just highlight these because of the work being amplified so much of what's going on in the country right now, also the NAACP, they are hosting town hall meetings almost 5 times a week. Keeping their mission in front, literally 5 days a week. There's a town hall meeting at 6 p.m. every evening for the NAACP. And on that, they're really talking about their work, sharing with the public about their work, and in that there is an ask. So that people understand and know the work that's going on, but also embedded in that is a way that they can be able to connect with people to solicit.
Okay. Well, I think this is a good pivot to bring on Dan. Okay. So Dan Doty of the organization Everyman, because I think maybe he could get some advice from you. Dan, are you there?
Hey, yes, I think I absolutely could get some advice.
Thanks for being here, Dan. So I can, here's an example. Okay, so Dan has an organization called Everyman, right? And Dan, why don't you explain what Everyman is?
Yeah, we are a community of that educates and creates the space and the knowledge set for men to literally simply get in touch with their emotions and to practice being vulnerable and to practice it's empathy training for men. We don't market it that way, but that's literally what it is. And so we bring men together and we give them the opportunity and the experience of what it feels like to connect with humans from the body and the emotions first. And we do that historically through retreats, wilderness expeditions, and now our main efforts are online.
Okay, so I definitely want to hear, we're going to get deeper with that, but you need to fundraise, right? Because it's, it is, well, it's for profit and nonprofit.
We're a B Corp, so we chose to be a B Corp. So we do not fundraise in this way. We're more about this, just racking up sales.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, okay. So my question, I thought, if you are like, what kind of advice could Dwayne offer you? I mean, you're still, so you're selling the programs to people as opposed to getting donations.
Well, and we're also in the process of raising money through more venture route, which again, I understand we're not talking about the same thing, but definitely what Dwayne was talking about, it applies. It certainly still applies.
All right. So Dwayne, even though it's they're different kind of organizations and one is for profit versus many of the ones that what would be a tactic that I could learn from as well to help people give you money?
Yeah.
In any
capacity. Yeah, well, there are really four things you really want to make sure you're focused on. One is you got to have a compelling case for support that says why now, what's required, and what are the outcomes going to be if you give me what's required. And so the second part of that is you got to set a goal. There has to be a number. What are you trying to raise? What's the number? So that way you can really back into that and build out the strategy on how you get to that number. And then thirdly, you have to identify who are some prospects that you're going to go to secure that goal. Do you build that up from the ground up? If the number is $2 million, then who can give you $2 million? You literally make a list of 10 people, organizations, individuals, foundations, corporations. You literally list them and you break that down from 2 million to 1 million to 5, and you have names attached to all of that. And you start to go through and rate those prospects in terms of their interest in giving or maybe funding your company. And then lastly, you want to solicit, you got to ask.
Can I ask everybody on this call to, support Culture Class? I feel like, like uncomfortable, but like, come on, we all want to do this so we could hear people like you and Dan. All right, Dwayne, thank you so much. We have time for questions at the end. People might have some for you, but you're really generous with your time, and I can't wait to see you in person again.
Thank you for all you do.
I love your energy and your mission and just everything you stand for. So thank you.
Thank you.